Warning, this radio program has been rated R for ridiculous. All listeners must be accompanied by their spirit guides.
You're listening to Haunted Voices Radio.
This is Haunted Voices. Join your host, Todd Bates, as he takes you on a journey into the unknown. Haunted Voices Radio. It's a trip into the unknown. Chat with us live where even more interaction is provided. And now, here's your host and founder, Todd Bates.
From the land beyond, from the world past hope and
fear. And a good evening, one and all. Haunted Voices Radio Live, right here, Let's Talk Radio. Let'sTalkRadio.net is exactly where you want to be. Those of you listening out there abroad, get over there, letstalkradio.net. The chat room is open. You're going to find some new things with the chat room. I know there's a few bugs over there. Don't worry, I'll get those squashed. But the chat is right there on the main page now. You can see it. Just log right in through Facebook, Twitter, as a guest, however you want to get in there. Just get your derrieres in there because we have an amazing show planned here for you tonight. My goodness. We have got everything from ghostly here in the States to ghostly overseas to a contest winner and more. All of that's coming up. So you want to be in chat. We'll open up the lines, of course, here later on. But some of those announcements I want to get out of the way. We are running an advertising special for the month of March only. The month of March only. Now, we only have 2 spots left. What we're doing is providing our premium package, which is normally $100 a month. That is station-wide coverage, 60-second advertisement, fully produced, written, and the banner on the website there, letstalkradio.net. That's normally a $100 value. We're doing that half off, $50, and there's no contract. You're not locked in. You can stop anytime you like. It's $50 a month, and you stay locked in at that price. So if you're interested in that, contact us quickly through the website, letstalkradio.net, because that only goes through the month of March, and once those spots are filled, they're filled. And that's just the world of advertising. Hey, we've got some spots to fill. That's how we fill them. But with that out of the way, let's get into some good stuff here. Now, on the line with me is Tony Rathman, and there was a contest not too long ago for the best evidence. Now, Tony was a first place grand prize winner of this contest. And of course, those of you that listen to the programming here know that we gave a free radio program for a year as one of the prizes. Tony won, and he's going to be having his own show here on letstalkradio.net. I've already talked to Tony. We've come down with a day and time. It's going to be Wednesdays. He's going to be following Kat Hobson with Paranormal Experience. He's going to be on from 10 to midnight Eastern Standard Time. And that show is going to be in production here very soon. But we've got Tony on the line. Tony, welcome to the show. Congratulations to you, my friend.
Thank you, Todd. It was an honor to win, and even bigger opportunity to receive a radio show for a year. I mean, that's just incredible. And, being involved in the paranormal and loving to discuss it, couldn't have asked for anything better.
Well, speaking of that, how long have you been in the field? How long have you been dealing with this, Tony?
My wife and I, who operate Entity Voices Paranormal out of Phoenix, Arizona, have been doing this for about 7 years.
Nice.
And we've done everything from historical sites to private homes to haunted hotels. The haunted hotels are always the most fun for us because it allows us to travel. We get to spend the night. Sometimes it's been multiple days of investigation. But yeah, we've been doing this for about 7 years now.
I love the acronym EVP. I love it. I'm an audio man
Thank
myself. Nice touch. Nice touch with that. And, it's you and your wife do it. It's a team effort out there. Some of the places that you've been, I just want to ask you, what is the scariest place, perhaps your most scariest encounter that you've had so far? Anything you want to share?
Yeah, the scariest place I would say that we've investigated was the La Posada Hotel in Winslow, Arizona. And one of the reasons why this place leaves such a mark of remembrance on me is that they have an underground tunnel system that used to run years and years ago under the whole city. Now, most of it's been blocked at certain points, but the original tunnel system still resides underneath the La Posada Hotel. Mm-hmm. And so we got permission to actually go down there and do some investigation. And the responses that we got down there were absolutely incredible. And some of them friendly, some of them not so friendly.
Aha. You kind of get the best of both worlds with that. Definitely. And
you do.
There's things you run into. Capturing electronic voice phenomenon, I'm sure that's a big thing for you. And what we're probably going to do is we're going to get you scheduled. That way we can actually air that, because this is just one of those conversations that we have to have more than just a few minutes to talk about. But with your new radio program, have you come up with a name yet at all, or
we've been kicking around. I'm down to 2 at the moment, so I just need to finalize. I think I'm going to go with paranormal evidence review, or paranormal evidence radio. One of the big things that in the years of doing this is, to me, one of the most fascinating things is looking at somebody's actual personal evidence, whether that be an EVP, whether it be photos, whether it be video, the actual evidence. There's so many sites, so many people I see that say they're involved in the paranormal are reshuffling stuff off the internet that nobody knows who captured, nobody knows where it came from. That to me is not the real deal of when you're doing research. And what I'd like to focus the show on is evidence that people have personally captured, what that meant to them, how they affected, did they share it? And if not, why? Is it because of, ridicule that comes from, and the better the evidence, the more ridicule you usually get. So that it's all tied together and helping to bring out the para-unity that should be occurring within the paranormal field, and also sharing that true personal evidence of what somebody has captured and the effort it takes to do that. That's what I would do.
What an amazing show idea. And I cannot wait to produce it for you.
Thank you very much, Todd. Thank you very much.
That you are on to something phenomenal there, and that is what this field needs. That is definitely what this field needs, is a program like that, to make it more personal and to get down to the nitty gritty. Mark does this too. Of course, you're going to have to definitely listen to what Mark Heise has to say about this, because you talk about picking through things. Now, we're talking about a former detective here for the state trooper. Now, there's a lot of evidence out there, and the media, I don't know. Television, it's really thrown things to the wayside. It's gotten to the point where I step back out of the field. That's what got me out of the field was all that junk that's being put out there. So it's going to be great to have a program like that on there. And if you need any help whatsoever, with anything, of course, you're going to get some training with it. You've got the 101, 102 broadcast training with this. You're going to be syndicated on iTunes, Google Play Music, iHeartRadio. You're going to get the full deal. That's what you won. You've earned it, Tony. And we are all looking forward to having you as a part of the Let's Talk Radio family.
Well, thank you so much, Todd. And I couldn't agree with you more. There's a huge disconnect that has happened within the paranormal community, and whether that's from the television shows that are out, there's a sense of everybody wants to be famous, and that's not what this is about. This is about research. This is about sharing evidence, and lots of people I talk to in the paranormal community don't share this. Either they don't want anyone else to know where they got it from, or they are afraid of ridicule, or, there's a whole slew of reasons why information is actually not even being shared. And we need that. We need that sharing growth. So hopefully I'll be able to accomplish that and, make some change.
I have no doubt in my mind. I have no doubt. I'm looking forward to it, Tony. You have a fantastic evening. Listen to the rest of the show. Jump over there and chat. That way you can kind of get an idea how chat is and everything. It'd be great to have you in there. You take care, my friend. I'm going to be in touch with you real soon.
All right, Todd. Thanks so much.
You bet. Yeah, there he was, Tony Rathman. Like I said, he's going to be having his own show here. He won that contest, and it's going to be a great show. It's going to be a great show. That's going to be airing Wednesday nights, 10 to midnight Eastern Standard Time. Now, our first guest for the evening. I've been waiting for this. Oh my goodness, he's going to be so amazing to speak with. Mark Keys, whose interest in the paranormal it's Keyes. Mark Keyes, whose interest in the paranormal began in his pre-teen years with a general fascination of all things supernatural and spiritual. Now, Mark later graduated from Wilkes University with a psychology degree. Oh boy, I could use his help on that. And is a former State Police Criminal Investigator, or detective in layman's terms. This background has helped to develop how the PPA investigates cases, collects evidence, and documents findings. Mark spends most of his free time hanging out with his wife, 3 daughters, along with landscaping, traveling, website updates, and studying, get this, unified physics. Amazing. Welcome to Haunted Voices Radio, Mark. It's great to have you.
Todd, thank you for having me. It's so great to be here, and thank you for all those folks tuning in and listening tonight.
Oh, they've been waiting. I've been getting questions and comments about you all day. They're saying, what? He used to be a police officer and he believes in ghosts. This is great. Because what that does is it adds credibility, and you're out there. Most of us strive for those investigative skills, and you have special training for them. So, you were a Pennsylvania State Police Criminal Investigator. So, what got you into all of this, Mark? Paranormal investigation. What happened?
Yeah, it really started when I was very young. I had just a very, very minor experience where I was out in my backyard cutting grass, and I lived in a very rural community, so there wasn't too many homes around my house. And I was alone. Nobody was with me that day, and I heard, very loudly, Mark. Somebody yelled my name, and I actually jumped. And I wasn't expecting anybody to be there with me, so I turned around expecting to see somebody, and there was nobody standing there. So, that's one of those things, did I just hear something, or, maybe it was just a random noise and I thought I heard my name. But flash forward to about age 14 now, I was home alone by myself. My parents were divorced, so my mother worked a full-time job. Mm-hmm. It was a sick day. I was home alone. Doors are all locked up. I'm sitting there doing my favorite thing, watching TV, and out of the blue, I hear again, loud and clear, Mark. Somebody yells my name, and it scared me because I thought my house was all locked up. Got up to see who it was. Doors are all locked. There's nobody there. And that just launched me into this intense interest in trying to find out, are there ghosts or spirit guides or aliens or who knows what would be there? Is my house haunted? And I didn't live in a haunted house as far as I knew. I'd never had any activity. But that just started me into really all things supernatural, and just love to watch any TV show, documentary that I could find. I'd watch movies, read books. And it just grew and grew to the point where when I got older as an adult, this is after I had become a trooper, I had, again, this just intense interest, and all the reading I did, all the watching of documentaries and television shows just wasn't answering the question for me. Are ghosts real? Is psychic ability real? So I had to actually go and implant myself into this supernatural realm to find out for myself.
Wow. With this, of course, it eventually led to your own group, of course. And yeah. Go ahead and how all that formed, because there has to be, one thing I do want to ask prior to that is, being in law enforcement, did anyone you work with, were they aware that, you had these experiences, and were they okay with it?
No, nobody had ever inquired to whether I had any experiences in the past. They had found out at one point it got to the point where I wanted to start researching this. So I started with psychic mediums because they were much easier to find than haunted homes around my area. And this was before all the television shows, and it was becoming so commonplace. And you couldn't just walk into somebody's house and say, "Hey, your house is haunted. Do you mind if I come in and check it out?" So I started with mediums, and nobody knew about that. But several years later, I wanted to start researching haunted locations, and it just so happened that my father-in-law worked with a man who was in a local team. They took my wife and I on board, and we started working with them. And then it started coming out in the workplace. I started telling some of the guys that I worked with what I was doing, and I wasn't sure how that was going to go because cops are pretty tough guys, and just to maintain a certain amount of our sanity with what we have to go through, sometimes we joke with each other a lot and make fun of each other a lot. And I thought it was really going to be coming at me pretty hard, but something kind of odd happened. Everybody had this intense interest, and I had a group of people who wanted me to leave this other group, start one of my own, and they wanted to join me in a little bit smaller group than the one I was with. So it was really amazing. And when we started, we actually had it was 3 state troopers that I worked with. There were 2 FBI agents, local agents out of our area office. My wife was a real estate agent. We had a municipal police officer and a college police officer on board.
So you had all of that experience getting into the hauntings themselves. Now, one thing different is a lot of researchers, they go out, they collect evidence, they walk away, and then they try and go back and get more evidence. Your team is different. You actually try and stop the haunting, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. We call ourselves a paranormal resolution team because we do a physical investigation just like most teams, but then we have the resources put together now to try to stop the haunting for people, and I'd say we're about 98% effective.
Okay, well, explain a little bit the process of that before we get into the nitty-gritty here of the team and all the different places, the effects, the equipment, all of this. Kind of give us a little rundown on how your success rate is that high and how you would stop a haunting like that.
Yeah, well, a lot of people like to remain scientific, and when we first started out, we had the intent of becoming a resolution team, but we didn't have any access to psychic mediums at the time, or priests, or energy workers, but my goal was to make connections with as many people as I can get from as many backgrounds to try to use as resources for cases that people had, more extreme hauntings, and they were scared. They wanted the activity stopped. And we tested out a lot of people. We, started to come across psychic mediums, and one of our stipulations was that they couldn't charge anybody for it or have them come back as clients for a certain amount of time and charge people for it, because we wanted to make sure the information, was coming from a good place, and that their intent was good, that they weren't just trying to make money off the people. And our goal was to study psychic mediums in a haunted house to see if they could be effective. So it took us a little while, but we eventually did team up with a tremendous psychic medium. Her name is Virginia Centrillo, and blew us away in the very first case. So what we do is just a little bit of historical research on a property prior to going out on an investigation that we accept. And we don't give any information to our psychic whatsoever. In fact, when we first started out, for the whole first entire year, we wouldn't even give her an address. We met her away from the location and had her either follow us or jump in the car, and we drive her to the home or the business. And we asked her to tell us initial impressions when she first got there. So she was going into a location with absolutely no information, and I asked her to tell us what the people there were experiencing, what rooms they were experiencing it in, and who she thought would be the culprit causing all the activity. And one of the things that started to develop for me after a little while with the psychology background. I also wanted to know what the intent behind the type of activity that was occurring was. So some people report very minor activity, some is extreme, and we've talked to families that used to live in the house and they report different type of activity than current residents. So I wanted to know what was the intent behind the different types of activity, if we could find that out. So we put a lot on our mediums shoulders here to try to give us as much information as they could. And we also have a historical research person. So if our medium comes up with any names, we want to be able to put those names at the property somehow. So we use a historical researcher for that. And then, of course, we have the physical investigation, where if we come up with any evidence, we want that to match the historical research and our psychic medium. So once we finish investigating a house or business, we turn the location over to our medium, and most cases she can connect with any ghosts that are at a location. She claims that she can have a dialogue with them in her way, and calls on different resources from the other side. She says she has spirit guides and angels that she works with. She could call on them to come in and help take these people out. Quite often, if anybody has ever gone to a psychic for a reading, they go into an office, sit down, psychics will connect with deceased loved ones. The same thing happens at a haunted house. When Virginia connects with the spirit, she can then also pull in family members for that person.
Hold that thought one moment. And I definitely can relate to the psychic. I actually fell in love with one and live with one. So we're engaged. So I get you right there, Mark. Stay tuned. We're more with Mark Kai's coming up here. We're going to get more into this. This is amazing. Join us in chat. letstalkradio.net. Stay tuned.
For station identification. It's the little cinder block building on the north side of town with the towel behind it. WGOG DB Clearwater. Let's talk.
Shopping, dining, beautiful lakes and rivers, and a monster? Welcome to Braxton County, West Virginia. Centrally located, Braxton County, West Virginia is the ideal place to visit. Natural beauty and recreation abound with 2 beautiful lakes for easy kayaking and canoeing, and many hiking trails. Did we mention the Flatwoods Monster? That's right. Visit Braxton County, West Virginia's Flatwoods Monster Museum and not only learn about the Flatwoods Monster, but walk in the same footsteps as the people who witnessed it. Nearly all of our attractions can be found within a few miles of Interstate 79. Visit us online at braxtonwv.org. That's braxtonwv.org. Braxton County, West Virginia. Center yourself here.
Your Monday nights just got better. Tune in to paratalkradio.com. We are your paranormal talk. On the air, on the web, and in the field. We have guests from all over the paranormal world. We discuss ghosts, hauntings, Bigfoot, UFOs, and more. Check us out on Facebook Live on Monday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern at facebook.com/paratalkradio. Remember, wherever there is darkness, there is always the light. paratalkradio.com.
Since 1948, Fate magazine has delivered a one-of-a-kind reading experience, covering everything from psychics, UFOs, paranormal investigations, and more. To subscribe, visit fatemag.com or call 828-702-3032. That's 828-702-3032. Subscribe and find your true reports of the strange and unknown at fatemag.com.
It's 23 minutes past the hour. Haunted Voices Radio Live. Yes, we are live, unless you're listening to the archive right now, and you're probably pretty confused. But don't worry, if you missed the first part of the show, we've got you covered, and you can listen to it on several different media outlets. About 30 minutes after the live broadcast, we go ahead and publish these for you. And they're syndicated on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Google Play Music. But we want you to listen to them at letstalkradio.net. All you have to do is click on past shows, find your favorite show, click it, and then click play. It's that simple. We're making everything easy. And thank you all for the feedback coming in about the chat room. I know there's a little bug right there, and I'm trying to fix that on the fly in between here, these short breaks that we have. So now you should be able to enter into chat, no problem. It's going to look a little funny over there right now. Just keep in mind I'm doing everything in stages here. Only one guy here. So you can go over there, letstalkradio.net, log in through Facebook, Twitter as a guest, and just click on the little chat bubble down there. So welcome to all of you folks just tuning in. And those of you who just arrived, we're interviewing and talking ghost activity with Mark Keyes. And we were talking about psychics before the break. And, of course, how I fell in love with one and engaged to her. I wonder if she saw that coming. I don't know. Now, Mark uses these for his investigations as well. And what we also learned is that he and his team helped stop these hauntings. Instead of just going there and collecting evidence after evidence after evidence, they try and stop, find the problem, see what the problem is. Now, and I want to ask you, Mark, welcome back, by the way, do you think the problem is us? Do you think we cause these hauntings?
Well, I don't know necessarily if we cause the haunting until we die, and I guess we could, but I definitely believe from just my personal experiences that the people who inhabit a place, I think, very much can cause the type of activity that is happening. Not in every case, but in many cases. Just as an example, you might have, someone who died, 100 years ago, who was a very religious person and, wouldn't drink, gamble, curse, any of that, who gets a family very similar that moves into a house. And there might be no activity at all, or just, very benign activity, just a person going about their daily routine, not really, bothering the family at all, and quite comfortable with the living arrangement, if you will. And you compare that to a family that comes in who parties all the time and they curse and they fight, and maybe there's some drug abuse in the family. They may tend to have a lot more severe activity because there's friction now between the resident ghost and the family moving in. Or, it might be someone who had partied a lot and died an overdose that's in the house, and they just have kind of a hostile personality. And the opposite happens. You get a very religious family moves in who that ghost now doesn't appreciate the way they live, and you have a little bit more frictional activity as compared to, they say like attracts like. So if you have like personalities that, residents move into a home that are very much like the personality of the ghost, they tend to get along a lot better, and the activity is a lot less severe.
Absolutely. But I can see how the psychology background can help with that as well. You are an investigator that we all want to be, because you have these skills that a lot do not. The psychology background, the detective work, all of these things, you know how to decipher variables, you know how to counsel, because that's what a lot of these homeowners need is something explained to them, where their last draw. And you're there, you're the one-stop shop when it comes to this, and a very rare find. You are, Mark. Very rare.
Well, thank you for saying that. Well, I rely on my team, wholeheartedly, and it's always a group effort. I mean, we have the physical investigation, and sometimes that's the easy part. But, we also work, like I said, with a psychic medium. In fact, that we got so busy after a while, we had to keep adding mediums on to try to keep up with everything. So we have two other fantastic mediums, Michelle and Cheryl, who come out and help us a lot. Virginia is our main psychic and hits most of the cases. But, we tackle each case as a team, and there is, just like you said, a certain amount of counseling that takes place with not only our clients, the living people, but while our medium is working with whoever the deceased is there, they often have to be counseled as well because, they're there because of some kind of traumatic event, emotional event, or there's something keeping them there that they need to work through. And sometimes, we find through our medium that they're ready to go and they're aware they're dead and just want out of there. And other times, they're dug in and don't want to leave at all and have, all these issues. So those cases take a little bit longer to try to actually work with the deceased person, that ghost there, to try to get them to go.
And speaking of which, we have a question from the chat room. Brenda is asking, has Mark ever been helped on a case by a spirit?
Yes, actually, several times. We call on a wide variety of people to come in, and quite often we'll find homeowners will have family around them that come to check on us once in a while, as most metaphysical people will say, and a lot of people believe our family after they die come and check in on us. We find a lot of times that there is one family member connected to them that will show up and inevitably help us try to remove whoever's there. But personally, we used to work with another medium named Michelle, and she ended up dying in her late 50s, and she had never met Virginia, and we were out one day and working a case, and all of a sudden Virginia said, "Hey, Michelle's here. She's here telling me she's here to help." And I've had my mother pop in on cases, and my best friend who passed away years ago has shown up on cases to help us, help get different ghosts out of the house. My mother in particular, if we have children involved in a haunting, if a child is there in a form of a ghost, my mother will often come in and help escort that person to where they need to go.
Very interesting. And getting into the group itself, and do you believe that investigators should have plenty of knowledge of their equipment before they actually do an investigation?
Oh, yeah, I think that's huge. We actually started our team in late 2007 and did just a couple of small things, but we didn't want to go out and actually work on homes trying to stop cases for anyone until we had a greater grasp. And I had the benefit of going into this local team for about 2 years, and they were very technically good at investigating, and they didn't resolve cases, but technically they were very good. So they had taught myself and my wife an awful lot. But each time we'd add a piece of equipment or bring anybody into the team, that was one of our things. We wanted everybody to work with the equipment in normal environments to see what it would do. So when we went into a haunted location, we wanted to see if it would react different. But in order to know what it's doing, you have to know how it normally operates in environments that does not have activity. So we spent an awful lot of time just getting to know the equipment before we actually employed it in an actual live setting.
Okay. And that is good. There's a lot of, I call them zooms and whams out there. And one of the things that most do not bring along is common sense. There's a way to do it. There's really no right way or wrong way. There's a way. I mean, nothing's proven. There's no experts or anything like that in this kind of field. But equipment is there. It's a tool. But I think common sense or your gut feeling, your intuition is one of your best tools. Would you agree, Mark?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And I guess I have the benefit, again, of being, in law enforcement, and anybody in law enforcement or like even emergency room personnel, you get this gut feeling for things a lot of times. And, one thing I'm very hard on our team, and this comes from my police background too, when we had new people coming into a unit, we'd always have to train them to be objective, because when you have expectations of something, that could, skew your actual true observations and lean you in one direction or another. Some places look like they're not haunted, and people right off the bat say, well, I don't think there's going to be anything going on here. Some places look, absolutely scary, and you go into and you think this is going to be the greatest case in the world, and you come out with nothing. So, we teach everybody to be as objective as they possibly can. And, one thing that, I've noticed with our investigators that quite often they'll have an experience, and then after that, I kind of call this the ghost effect. It's a small portion of a broader definition I have for that, but it happens to investigators. They'll have a very good experience, and then any little thing after that, they're thinking the ghost did that too. But you have to pick each individual experience apart to make sure that you're not making it part of the paranormal evidence, rather than it truly being just something that randomly happened along with something that was paranormal. Great advice. Now, your first 10 members, the team members, that you had a mixture of state police, FBI personnel, and you definitely feel this helped, your group on investigations, working together like that, all the investigative skills coming together, and that was definitely welcomed in the field, because I've interviewed several officers that do believe in the paranormal, and they use those same skills. So do you feel that is I guess the ideal way to investigate is to have these people with that kind of training on there? Well, I think if people sit down and think of an investigation and what controls you want to put in place, you don't necessarily have to be, a police investigator, but it certainly helped with our team, I believe, because we have a lot of controls in place. And that's one thing that I learned very early on. We made a lot of mistakes, and we evaluated every case and the way we did things. And just as an example, when we do a normal investigation right now, even if it's a small house, we're generally running about 12 audio recorders. And what a lot of teams are doing that I would like to see more of is having, even cheap ones, get 2 recorders and put them outside the building, one outside in the front, one outside in the back, because we were picking up more EVPs, we thought at the time, in attics and basements, and I wanted to find out why that was. And it struck me one day that maybe they're coming from outside, because we were getting them a little bit more in more populated areas. So we started putting them outside, and sure enough, what was being picked up on just one recorder inside a home, in say like the attic, was actually coming from outside, but the other recorders were not picking it up. So it's just a control device that we use. We scatter. We generally run about 6 video cameras or DVR cameras, stationary cameras around a building, and we put a voice recorder in the same room with those cameras, but then we carry multiple recorders to do EVP work. So we always have control devices, even our camcorder. Every team that's out has to carry a camcorder because it's a great log of where you're at, what you're doing, and the sound quality is usually pretty good because you're carrying it. It's right there with the team. And it's something we can refer back to. So if we get an EVP, we're comparing that to about 13 other recorders. We sync them and then go back and run the same area to see if whatever voice came up was ours, if we somehow made it, or was it an authentic EVP. And my team calls me the ruiner because I'm so tough on evidence. And usually the EVPs that they find, I go back and I'm able to debunk it. I find it, and we're generally the cause of it. And we've learned that if you have a recorder up on the 3rd floor and a team on the 1st floor, by the time the sound travels through the floors and the walls and gets to that top floor, the digital recorders tweak the sound just a little bit because, maybe it's just picking up the noise. So it sounds like a voice might sound a little different than anybody on the team. And we think, wow, we got something there. But then we go check the recorder from that floor, or, from the lower floor, compare the two, and we're like, wow, plain as day, I could see it now. It was us, not a random voice. So you are absolutely correct. And I cannot thank you enough for telling that to the audience. I mean, I learned so much from these interviews, and of course, the listeners learn a lot as well. And these are simple things, again, common sense, where the recorder is upstairs, and just like you said, sound travels, it dissipates, it bounces, and it changes patterns. It could be somebody's shoe scuffing across a hardwood floor. By the time it gets up there to that digital recorder, I use magnetic, but to the digital recorder, then the sample rate that it's trying to sample it could sound like some kind of demonic growl. Next thing you know, your house is possessed and the client is freaking out, and then you have this huge problem on your hands, all because of common sense. Yeah, and when you're working for clients, that's the big thing that I also try to stress to our investigators. There's a big difference between going out and doing a case just for your own interest to have a little fun, see what you can collect. between that and then going into a home where people are counting on you to stop the activity, they're scared, they don't know what's going on, and you bring in a piece of evidence that to you might seem, fairly insignificant, and to them it made it real, and they're twice as scared as when you started. So, we have to be very careful when we present evidence and make sure it's absolutely authentic, because some people don't mind at all, but some people it puts them over the edge.
Right. No, you're correct. You're correct. We've got a couple of questions here from chat for you. O'Hara is asking, what percentage of the cases that you go on do you see residual activity as opposed to intelligent activity?
Just every once in a while, I'd say, maybe for us anyway, in homes, maybe about 20%. And, if you're working, if, you're married to a medium, they can pull out a lot of history. So they can, grab onto a door handle and start telling you about the past of the house. And they experience things a little bit different than the average person. But a lot of the houses we go to, the people that are living there are actually quite open themselves. And by all intents and purposes, they are mediums, or psychics at least, and can experience a lot of this stuff. So, for them, there would be a lot more residual type of experiences, but for the average person and us documenting stuff and talking to the non-open people on cases, we don't find all that many. They tend to be a little bit more prevalent, I think, in places where there was a lot of activity for a long time. More businesses, taverns, hotels, that sort of place than the average house, unless there was like a real significant event, either good or bad, that might have happened there. But we come across it now and then.
Kind of get the best of both worlds. That's amazing. And Brenda is asking, has Mark ever had a spirit attach themselves to him and follow him home?
To the best of my knowledge, that happened to me one time, and I was not aware of it even. I had gone out and done a lecture with a friend of mine who runs another team at, this was a tavern hotel type of place that had closed down years ago, but was very active. And it was just maybe 2 weeks later, I was out doing a case with Virginia, our medium, and just a few minutes into her initial walkthrough, she turned to me and said, "Hey, who you got there with you?" And I said, "What are you talking about?" And she's like, you picked up somebody along the way. You got a man that's, and I hate to say attached. I don't know if he was attached to me, but he was sort of following me and sticking with me. And, there are attachments which are a little bit harder to break. But this gentleman did follow me we believe, from that location to the case that we were on, and Virginia picked up on that, and that's the information that she got from him. She even gave me the name of the tavern that we were at, and she said he came from this place. I said, "Yeah, exactly. I was there 2 weeks ago," and she was able to get him into the light, but Virginia believed at that point that he knew that I was sort of into helping spirits, and thought I could lead him to get help, to get crossed over, which we eventually did. So we've had just one other case on our team, I think, which was a lot more negative. It was a very negative case we worked, and Paul, one of our investigators, actually did have something attached to him, and we had to work a couple days later at removing that from him. But other than that, knock on wood, for 10 plus years now, that they're the only two incidents our team has had.
Good for you. Good for you. That means you're well prepared.
Yes, yeah, that's huge. We prepare very much so before we do any case, and then at the end of the night, Virginia will actually scan our team, and we do a little cleansing of ourselves to make sure that we're detaching ourselves from the home and anything that might have latched onto us.
Oh, I tell you what, you and I, we're going to get along great. Those are the same principles. It's common principles.
It's one of the biggest pieces of advice advice that I give to people who are kind of getting into this is, do some prayers and protect yourself going in, learn how to do that. And at the end, at the very least, just cut around yourself. We call it, use a sword or scissors or a lightsaber, whatever your pleasure is. And, picture cutting cables off of yourself that attach you to the property, any spirits there, because you don't want to bring anything home. And we've had a lot of teams call us saying, "Hey, I think I got something with me. My home's kind of acting a little weird lately." So we don't want that to happen to anybody else. So that's usually the biggest piece of advice we give to people.
And it doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt anything, Mark. I mean, I'm not embarrassed to say that my better half, Ariel, she wraps me in a pink blanket.
Perfect.
whatever it takes.
Whatever works. Yeah, it's visualization, and it doesn't really matter what it is, as long as it's significant to yourself, and the more you practice it, the better it works. And we have skeptics that we specifically put on our team intentionally, and they even do it too, because they're like, well, I don't believe in ghosts, but you know what, better safe than sorry. So they're fine doing it as well.
And I mean, we've got a break here in just a couple minutes, and what I'm going to do is, let's see, because I want to hear about the canine use of canine dogs during the investigation, the results from that. Do you think we can sum that up here in a couple minutes?
Oh yeah, I think so.
How did that work out? Because that is, I find that so intriguing.
So one of our members early on was a police officer down in Maryland, and he was a canine officer, and he had this big, beautiful dog. His name was Ben. He was a black Czechoslovakian shepherd, so it was like a black German shepherd. That's what he looked like. And when Joe got on the team, his handler, we started thinking after a while and said, I wonder if we brought Ben in on cases, how he would react, because he was trained to go into all these strange environments, and he wasn't apprehensive like a normal dog would be. He was trained to go in and work, and he had all these indicators for tracking people and sensing things that humans can't. Was our theory, and we came up with all these indicators that we were looking from him to put in the paranormal world, just as if he was out tracking a live person. Just as an example, if it was a hot night, we knew he'd be panting, so we'd put him down stationary on the floor. He'd sit there and pant. Now we're looking for respiratory rate to change. Did he go from panting to alert? Does something grab his attention? Would he move because he's trained not to leave his handler? So would he leave the handler? Just a wide variety of indicators like that we'd watch for. And we've had just some amazing results from him where, a couple other examples. We were in a bedroom of a home that had a lot of activity. We were experiencing some things, and Ben was sitting next to Joe and walked over to the doorway and just sat there and stared at Joe. He'd walk back over and nudge Joe's hand, walk back over the door, and he did it 2 or 3 times. I said, Joe, what's he doing? And he's like, oh, he wants me to follow him. And I said, well, let's go. So Joe got up and we followed the dog downstairs. This was a 2-story townhouse. We followed him downstairs to this bathroom door where he sat and stared at the door.
I'm going to stop you right there. That's perfect stopping point. The dog downstairs. What happens next? Stay tuned. Haunted Voices Radio is going to be right back in just a few minutes. Let'sTalkRadio.net. Get into that chat room. We interrupt our scheduled programming to bring you the following conspiracy theory. Humpty Dumpty was pushed. WGOG-DB Clearwater. Let's talk. There are thousands of health and beauty products on the market these days, but how many can you say are truly natural? The name says it all. And Naturally by Darla is here to humbly serve, guide, and help to heal all individuals seeking a more natural way of living. NaturallyByDarla.com provides a wide variety of products and services like essential oils, soaps, balms and salves, powerful mists, and ancient healing techniques. Curious yet? We thought so, and invite you to visit our website, naturallybydarla.com, or call 847-334-1580. That's 847-334-1580. Naturallybydarla.com. Humbly serving for over 10 years. Naturally. The
Haunted Voices series by author Claire Jim. Not your average romance novels, the Haunted Voices series intertwines romance with ghost stories. Like an addiction counselor and a security guard struggle to free a little girl and her father. Two lost spirits trapped inside an abandoned mental hospital and spirits of the heart. Want more? Then read about a hunky professor in a tweed jacket, a cheeky goth chick, and a pipe-smoking, book-hurling ghost. Put them all together in an antiquated library and, well, you get the book Phantom Traces. Or read about a psychic interior designer who reluctantly agrees to renovate a sexy investor's abandoned hotel in Hearts Unlocked, winner of the 2016 New York Book Festival. The Haunted Voices series by Claire Jim. Buy wherever books are sold or purchase at clairejim.com.
The weather outside is cold, but we're smoking hot.
Hot damn.
WGOG DB Clearwater. Let's talk.
Minutes past the hour, you're listening to Haunted Voices Radio live. I'm your host, Todd Bates, of course, and those of you that missed the first part of the show, everything's being archived for you. Not a problem. We'll have that uploaded about 30 minutes after the live broadcast this evening, and you can find all the outlets right there at letstalkradio.net, where you can also log in to chat. That is being repaired. Hang in there. Choppers coming, birds on the way, as they say. You can log in through Facebook, Twitter as a guest. Register. We do recommend that. It's free of charge to register for chat. That way you can change your picture and all that fun stuff. And I want to welcome one of our newest staff members. And you can read more about him there on our staff page on the website. Boris, all the way from Germany, is now a moderator right there in the Let's Talk Radio chat room. So give Boris a huge hello. He's the welcome mod in there. He's the one welcoming you into chat. So hop on over there and say hi and congratulate Boris. Doing a great job over there. Now we're talking with Mark Keyes about the investigations. Before the break, the dog, the shepherd, the beautiful black shepherd, was down the bottom of the stairs. Go ahead and continue, Mark.
Okay, so when we last left off, Ben was pulling Joe, his handler, out of this upstairs bedroom and went to the bottom of the stairs, and he just sat and stared at the door. So if that were an actual police call, that's Ben's indicator that there would be a living person behind that door. That indicates he has found someone. So Joe had walked up to the door and slowly opened it, and Ben had run in there, and of course there's no one in there, and it was just a very small bathroom. So what I did later on that night is went back to the clients. And when we have people fill out our forms, we ask for just general information because we don't want to know too much there. Number one, I'm always worried that our psychic is then pulling it out of our heads rather than the environment. And number two, it has a bigger impact, I think, on the clients knowing that we had no idea what was going on in the house except for some general stuff when our medium comes in and starts giving very specific things that they're experiencing. So we didn't know anything about this room, and I went and I asked if there was anything specific to this bathroom or the door, and they said, yeah, absolutely. And the door was sort of behind their living area in this townhouse. So they said quite often they'll be sitting on the couch in the living room watching TV or just talking, and they'll hear that door handle jiggle on the bathroom door, and then the door will slowly open up by itself. And that's exactly where Ben went and indicated there was someone there. So we had him at another place. This was an old convalescent home and an insane asylum in later years. And we had been up on a third floor, which was a wood floor, and it was a hot night. So again, we put him down. We knew he was going to be panting, which he was, and he looks around, his tongue's sticking out, and we were just talking back and forth, and then all of a sudden, Ben went to alert. He's staring down the hallway, and probably about 3 or 4 seconds later, we actually heard what sounded like boots walking right towards us, and then they just stopped. But Ben had picked up on something several seconds before we had heard anything. So he's just been a fantastic asset to the team. Unfortunately, he passed away a few years ago, but we've had incredible results using him.
That is amazing. Because, you hear of people wanting to use pets. Pets have a heightened sense of awareness, a lot like cats and dogs, and they have a heightened sense of awareness.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and we had another case that this one was one of my favorites with him. I kind of felt sorry for him, but as far as an indicator, it was fantastic. We had him in a home, and it was a 2-story home that's just outside of Philadelphia. And our medium had said, spirit just came in and is headed over towards the stairs. Ben actually stood up and started running right up the stairs and took a right-hand turn and slammed right into the wall. Ooh. And our medium said, wow, he just went after that ghost that went up the stairs. And what we had already known, this was a single-family house that was turned into a 2-family house. That used to be a common hallway where he would have turned right and gone down the hallway. Now it was a wall dividing the 2 homes. So, the spirit there would have gone up naturally if they lived there, many years ago, up the stairs, taking a right. And Ben just followed him up and took a right and hit the wall.
My goodness.
So it was a great indicator that, he could see something that we couldn't again.
Wow. And you see that all the time. You see it on videos as well. It's video evidence is tough these days. It can be manipulated so much. But cats, especially, they seem to play with them. They'll run. But dogs, they have this just heightened sense where, they'll either growl or being a dog owner, and I'm sure a lot of you out there listening have pets, and in the middle of the night something may happen, and they're just kind of growling for no reason at all. That's probably what it is, right?
Well, yeah, that could be. We actually had a case, again, if we can go back to the insane asylum. We were in the basement of this place, and it was a state insane asylum. And when it was open, they actually had court-committed people there, and they had cells. There were 3 cells in the basement. In case anybody became unruly, they would actually lock them up there. Mm-hmm. And I was with Joe and Ben in the basement. Joe and I were walking together. Ben was just a few steps ahead of us, and Ben turned sideways and started walking towards us, and he was actually pushing against Joe and I, growling, looking down the hallway. And I said, Joe, what's he doing? And he's like, well, he goes, that's what he does when, he feels a threat towards me. But he started doing that actually for our teammates as well on certain cases. And, in that particular case, it just stood out so much because, he was actually growling. And we couldn't see anything, but, he apparently was picking up on something.
Absolutely. Very interesting. And we just have a couple of minutes left here with you, Mark. I want you to get out your information, promote yourself, how people can get in touch with you, about your team, all the good stuff. The mic is yours, my friend.
Okay, well, the best way to check us out, the team is the Pennsylvania Paranormal Association, and we can be found at that name on Facebook, or you can check out our website. It's just theppa.net. And I also wrote a book. It's called Chasing Shadows, a Criminal Investigator's Look into the Paranormal, and that could be found on Amazon.com. Just, even Google my name and Chasing Shadows, the book will come up. And that's about it. Again, we work resolution cases, generally in the eastern part of Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and New York, every once in a while Connecticut. But if, people are having extreme cases that they want stopped, they can check out the website. And we have cases from other people there, too, to check out, just so anybody going through this can look at that, see what they're going through, and know that they're not alone.
Oh, wonderful. And we're going to get you rescheduled. We're going to get you back here real quick for a 2-hour special because...
Oh, you got it.
So many things I want to discuss with you, so many things that we have in common. The different investigations you've been on, the places, your techniques, just your investigation style in general. I want to get more involved with that with you. So definitely you are going to come back on the program. So thank you so much.
I'll be happy to come back. Thank you.
Yeah, and thank you very much for taking time out of your busy schedule to come on here tonight. I mean, I can only imagine what you're going through, but you definitely you made a lot of people happy and spread a lot of great knowledge out there. So thank you, Mark.
You're welcome.
Have a great night.
Take care.
Mark Keyes, everyone. There we go. My goodness. Sorry about the little distractions there, folks. Hey, trying to do two things at once. Had to get this website fixed there for you as well. Hopefully you enjoyed Mark Kais. He is going to be back. We're going to do a couple hours with him. Fantastic, fantastic individual. Lots of great information. Now, those of you just tuning in, the website has now been updated. All you have to do now is refresh your page, and things have been repaired. Those things happen. Trying to fix these things on the fly, because I was getting messages bombarded like crazy, people wanting to get into chat, and they weren't able to. But everything is squared away now. And now what we have coming up next, of course, is your latest news. We have to give you the news. You've got to be fed. That's just kind of the way it works. But after that, the one and only Cambridge Ghost Hunters, all the way from the UK, are going to be joining us. And we're going to be talking about some ghostly activity going on across the pond. So Craig and Matt coming up next. You're listening to Haunted Voices Radio Live right here, letstalkradio.net. Here's your latest news.
For station identification. It's the little cinder block building on the north side of town with the towel behind it. WGOG DB Clearwater. Let's talk.
More cabinet changes. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. Republicans hoping to have a new Secretary of State in place soon after today's firing of Rex Tillerson.
Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell is hoping to move fast on confirming a new Secretary of State, calling CIA Director Mike Pompeo and his deputy, nominated to become the first woman to lead the spy agency, perfectly well qualified.
They'll not be subjected to undue delay, which has been an enormous problem.
Democratic leader Chuck Schumer says he has had disagreements with Tillerson, but is critical of the way he was fired.
I mean, I've never seen a presidential administration so basically disorganized, at war with one another.
Schumer wants to know if Pompeo will be tougher on Russia.
Fox's Jared Halpern on Capitol Hill, and Fox News confirming that President Trump considering replacing VA Secretary David Shulkin with Energy Secretary Rick Perry. President Trump spending part of the day in San Diego looking at border wall prototypes.
That wall will stop so much, and we looked at the different prototypes, and it was fascinating. And we have 2 or 3 that really work. We had people trying to scale. We've done them every way. You know, I'm a builder. What I do best is build.
The president speaking at Miramar Air Naval Base, telling forces that one day a Space Force could be working alongside the Marines and Air Force to protect U.S. interests. Tonight, the president in Southern California at a $250,000 per person fundraiser hosted by the co-chairman of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The proceeds go to a committee that benefits the president's re-election campaign and the Republican National Committee. The polls in Pennsylvania's special congressional election closed about an hour ago, and no results yet in what's expected to be a close race between Republican Rick Saccone and Democrat Connor Lamb. Fox News, fair and balanced. Thousands without power and buried in snow as much of New England is battered by the third major nor'easter in under 2 weeks. Fox's Steve Rappaport has this live.
Lisa, New Englanders may be done with winter, but winter isn't done with them. The latest nor'easter unleashing a sea of white from Connecticut to Maine. Some areas could get more than 2 feet of snow. Boston bracing for at least a foot looked like a ghost town today with workers staying home and schools closed. Mayor Marty Walsh reminding residents snowfall is only part of the problem.
Temperatures are going to be hovering around freezing, so there'll be very little melting during the day. Any melting that does happen during the day, it'll be freezing at night.
Hundreds of thousands of homes and businesses are in the dark tonight. More than 1,500 flights canceled today. Lisa?
Steve, U.S. Steel plans to increase production after President Trump imposed tariffs on imported steel and aluminum. Fox's Jeff Flock is there.
I am standing in front of a blast furnace here at the U.S. Steel plant in Granite City, Illinois, which the company is preparing to fire up again after 2 years in shutdown. And speaking of Fired up, laid-off workers like Jeff Babiak say the new tariffs on foreign steel make him believe that his job finally has a future.
People think that, protectionism, it's the bad word. There's a need for it. Obviously there's a need for it when you got people that are going to cheat the system.
500 workers are called back here, but what about a potential trade war that some economists think will be touched off by the taxes on imported steel? At the U.S. Steel plant in Granite City, Illinois, I'm Jeff Flock, Fox News.
The Oregon Food Bank in Portland with a recall of donated chia seeds. More than 22,000 pounds of the seeds are part of the recall because the food bank says they may be contaminated with rodent droppings. In a statement, the food bank says while no known illnesses have been associated with the product, use or consumption may present a health hazard. Lisa Lacera, Fox News Radio.
If you've ever wondered what your dog, cat, bird, or any other animal is thinking or trying to tell you, now's the time to crack their code. Make this year the year you learn telepathic animal communication and begin using the intuitive and psychic abilities we all have to connect with other species. The free website Speak Good Human is the perfect place to start. Speak Good Human is the internet's largest free animal communication practice site. It features tips, advice, how-tos, and more than 100 animals ready to help you practice and build your skills through telepathic conversation. And each February and August, you can join the thousands of other learners worldwide for the Animal Communication Practice Challenge, when you'll get daily encouragement, inspiration, and camaraderie as you pursue your dream of talking with animals. Get in on the conversation at www.talktoanimals.weebly.com. That's talktoanimals.weebly.com. Or Google Speak Good Human. Not only will your companion animals thank you, but you'll finally be able to hear it. Let's Talk Radio would like to remind you that if at first you don't succeed,
I got it.
Don't try skydiving. WGOG DB Clearwater. Let's talk.
Top of the hour, Haunted Voices Radio Live. I'm your host, Todd Bates. For those of you just joining us here, you missed an amazing first hour, Mark Keyes. That archive will be up shortly. You guys know the drill, and you get on me whenever I'm a little late. I've got you spoiled. That's the way I like it. You can listen to all the past shows right there at letstalkradio.net. Just click on your favorite show, and it has all the mediums right there where you can listen to them. Right there from iTunes and Google Play, iHeartRadio, or right there on the website itself. Just click play. It's mobile friendly. It's repaired. The chat room is open. And you can log in through Facebook, Twitter as a guest. Either way, just get in there. A lot of great people in chat. Be sure and give Boris a welcome. Give Meg a hello. Ariel's in there. We've got Brenda's in there. Of course, John, Wendy, Tony in there. He's the one that won the show, the big winner from the first hour. Yeah, he's got a full show for a year, and that's going to be airing live coming up soon here, Wednesday nights, 10 to midnight Eastern Standard Time. But we're going to get into some more ghosts for you fine folks out there. It's one of those things. Now, we're not talking ghost here in the States. Our ghosts are, well, they're kind of boring. We're talking about ghosts overseas. And we've got Craig Jones and Matt Patton from the United Kingdom team, the Cambridge Ghost Hunters. Now, they use a scientific approach when it comes to investigating, using different type of equipment to try and capture or debunk any paranormal activity. Welcome to the show, guys. It's great to have you.
Thanks for inviting us. Lovely.
Yeah, it's a little chilly over there. You know, you got the weather and, you know, but it's a beautiful place. It is a beautiful place over there. Now, I'm going to get into a lot of questions here for you guys because a lot of us are envious over here in the States. We want to investigate over there because it's the history. It's so historical. Now, we'll start with you, Craig. How did you get started in the paranormal itself? Everybody has a story. What's yours?
So I had personal experiences when I was younger. It was at my mum's house. Mm-hmm. I had quite a lot of things going on, which sort of intrigued me and wanted to find out more. So as I got older, I then sort of looked into different ghost hunting groups and stuff, and then obviously come across the Cambridge Ghost Hunters. I managed to join the team, which went running for a couple of years, and then it got shut down, so I missed it. So I started the team up again, but sort of built it quite big, and we've got a lot more new investigators and everything on it. So
okay,
yeah.
What about you, Matt? What happened? Did you get possessed as a kid? What happened?
No, nothing quite as exciting as that, I'm afraid. But no, I mean, I was always very, very sort of aware of spirits and energy forms and stuff like that around us. I mean, I'm not like a full-blown medium, but I was always very, very sensitive to stuff like that. And as I grew up, I mean, I trained in Reiki, which is like Tibetan energy healing, to sort of try and get a better understanding of the sort of spirit world and what was going on around us. Actually, it just ended up giving me more questions rather than answers. But I was lucky enough to come across Craig and his team about 4 years ago. And it was just something that I'd always wanted to do, was to sort of have like-minded people around me that could possibly help me either grow in what I was working with, or at the very least enable me to sort of experience more cool things at venues and stuff. So yeah, I've been doing that now for, as I said, for about 4 years now with Craig's lot. Oh, good. So now we can blame your obsession on Craig. Yeah. Oh, completely. Yeah, completely.
And that is, with this, starting a team, it's a huge endeavor. There's a lot of work behind it. And, I'm sure you guys have watched the television shows over there, all the paranormal television shows. I want to get your opinion on those. Craig, we'll start with you. What do you think of, let's say, especially these shows here in the States? What do you think about these shows? Do they help the community? Do they help us at all? Or do you think they hurt us more?
50-50, really. Like, obviously, we're not there to sort of see what actually goes on and stuff, but some of the stuff that we sort of see on TV seems to be interesting. But then it is a show, so they have to do something for entertainment. I suppose if they went on air and they had nothing happening, because quite often we go to venues and we have nothing happen. If that was just a program full of that, then people ain't going to watch it. So it's hard to say, but obviously, I do love watching some of the programs, especially the American ones.
It's all about selling advertising. Speaking of which, we're having a half-off special on our advertising here at letstalkradio.net, and you can get it for $50, $100 package. Contact us right there on the website. See? It's all about selling ads.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant.
That is what the whole thing is about getting the attention. These shows, it's to entertain, inform, of course, but that is the name of the game. It has to support itself with advertising. But what I do like about some of these shows is the awareness and what they've done. And Matt, I'm sure you can agree as well that people seem to be coming out of the woodworks now. They're not as secluded as they used to be with these encounters they would have, or sightings, or they're not as afraid to talk about it. It's not as taboo as what it used to be. Would you agree?
Yeah, I mean, we recently branched out into working with members of the public and investigating personal houses, and certainly, I mean, it seems more acceptable for people to sort of put their hand up and say, look, I've got a problem with this, rather than literally thinking, everyone's going to think I'm mad and I'm going to get locked away for it, which might have happened maybe 50 years ago. So yeah.
Okay.
So we quite often get contacted as well by a lot of private homes recently as well, for people saying, the things are going on in their house and they want us to investigate, whereas a few years back, before like a lot of the main shows, we probably wouldn't have had that. Yeah. So I think it sort of opened up a whole other things, so more people are more confident to sort of, share their experiences and share what's going on in their homes.
Yeah, so I think the only problem is with all of it becoming very public and everyone getting very into ghost hunting and the whole idea of paranormal is, to be honest, it's also become a massive business opportunity for people. And it's something that we're very aware of is the concept that, in effect, anybody could say, my house is haunted, and I'm going to charge you, £200 or $200, for example, to come and investigate it and turn it into a fantastic source of income. So yeah, that's something else that we're...
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah. That is a great point. And everything comes down to the God almighty dollar or pound, whatever currency it is, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I mean, especially, if you're talking about something like the paranormal, which isn't really, it's not a proven science. There's no direct thing. Right. And you're not, as long as you don't say to people, oh, you will experience this. If you say, oh, you might experience this and this might happen, you're not lying, and therefore you can't actually get in trouble with the law either. So really, it's a business that will just grow, and legends will support it, so to speak. And
I'm curious. I'm gonna ask the chatters a question here. I'm curious. You guys in chat. Those of you that aren't in chat, get in there so you can answer this question. I'm very curious about this. Let's talkradio.net. Just log into chat. But for the chatters in the chat room, would you, if your house was haunted, I mean massively haunted, malevolent, you were being just tormented day in, day out, would you pay a research team to come in and take care of the problem? Would you pay? Would you pay for that? And do you think that research teams should charge to help fund themselves as far as equipment, travel costs, lodging, things of that nature? Do you agree or disagree with charging in this field? That is the ultimate question for you. Post your answers right there in chat, and I'll of course we'll read them here in just a moment. But that's just it's an important topic. Because
with our team, we don't charge at all for like private investigations and nothing, and we actually pay for each investigation. That's all we go for on the main venues. But a lot of them, you're quite find if they've had like popular teams go there or people off the TV, their prices shoot right up. So smaller teams like us sort of struggle to get into a lot of these venues because we're self-funded.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean the whole thing with sort of obviously working with the public, apart from anything else, it's a wonderful opportunity for investigating paranormal, purely because we can, in effect, set up equipment in a private house and be there for like an entire week, rather than obviously at a venue there for just like one night. So you get a much broader idea of really what's going on, and a much more possibly realistic view into that sort of world.
It's a great point. And, of course, when I was out in the field heavily, I had the team. We never charged. We never charged anything. It was taboo, very unheard of to do something like that. And at the end of the day, you're performing a service. So that's where the controversy comes in, to charge or not to charge. Are we there just going to the home to collect your evidence and leave? Or are we there to really help you, to counsel you, like what Mark does? Mark Kai's our first guest, to counsel you, stop the haunting. It's not like we're not like some kind of a roto-rooter guy that pulls up and sucks the thing out of there and then just takes off. There's a lot involved. So should people be charged for this service? And you guys go ahead and talk about that in chat all you want. Absolutely, hash it out in there. You can be nice about it. Everybody has an opinion, but that's just an important topic. And I wanted to see the difference between here and the United Kingdom, if it was any different at all. And I see you guys are pretty much on the same page as we are, so that's nice.
Yeah, we don't believe in charging people, because if anything, like you say, we want to help people out rather than try and take money off them, basically, because we don't see it as a business. We see it as like a hobby more than anything for us. We're sort of looking for what everyone else is looking for, which is the paranormal and the unexplained. So for us to then turn around and charge someone to investigate their own house is completely unfair.
Yeah, no, I mean, we're also not really going in and performing like clearances or doing any of the really sort of deep rescue medium work, as it's sort of called. We don't really perform that service at all. I mean, we can refer it over to people who will go in and do that if the client so wants that. But really, we're just there to sort of help corroborate the person, let them know that they're not going completely mad, which is usually their main concern, and to give them some pointers, really.
Okay, good point. These are all great points. And we have a lot of new researchers coming into the field, some for the wrong reasons, but it's one of those things where, look, we're not going to be here forever. Someone has to take it over, right? So they have to learn it. And I personally think it's better to learn it the hard way, because you remember it. It definitely sticks in your mind when you are walking through a cemetery in the middle of the night without a flashlight and you fall into a 6-foot grave.
Yeah, trips right over Gravestone. Yeah.
You learn to bring a flashlight. So it's just things like that. Not that that's ever happened to me.
Yeah, I've still managed to walk into things regardless of whether I've got a flashlight or not. But yeah.
With this, what kind of equipment do you guys use? Now we're going to get into to some of your investigations here, how you investigate a lot of private residences over businesses. What types of equipment do you use? What's your favorite kind of equipment?
So we have like a full CCTV night vision setup, which we set up all around the homes, like the main hotspots and stuff. We have handheld video cameras. We have like normal cameras to take pictures, EVP recorders, K2 meters, SLS like cams, Ovilus device. We've got all sorts of things really. We use like trigger objects as well, like barrier beams, motion sensors. We've even got like an old clown doll that I've sort of built into a K2 meter as well, just for like, if there's children there and stuff, it might sort of make them want to play with it and stuff.
Okay.
Obviously, like we want to design our own sort of equipment eventually as well, but it's obviously just sort of get into that, isn't it? So.
Yeah. I mean, equipment is obviously vitally important for measuring the environment and measuring atmospheric differences and changes like temperature drops, electromagnetic fields and stuff like that. But the problem is that what becomes very apparent when you work with equipment is equipment's got its limitations, and it seems that a lot of the phenomenon that we're encountering is outside of the boundaries of what you can actually perceive with electronic equipment or capture, so to speak, like photographs. You just get nothing, even though everything's saying there's something there. It's very frustrating from that point of view.
Okay, well said. Well said. Now, the equipment portion, let's say there can be, I don't know, too much. When you're out there doing an investigation, especially when the homeowner is there, because you want them to kind of be in their most natural state and do what they normally do, and it's hard for them to do what they normally do with a bunch of zooms and whams going off and bells on every door, and then you have this light net going through there. So it's hard for them to act any kind of normal. So I guess in that case, less would be more.
Yeah, that's why it's always handy to have like CCTV, because we've done it before. We've set up the CCTV and sort of left the cameras running and stuff, so they can just carry on being normal and then sort of come back in the evening and investigated. So that way we can sort of see the difference as well between when they're there and when they're sort of with us as well, if that makes sense. And we've had it where things have happened with children there as well. So in the daytime we'd have, like, for instance, their children there just being normal, just doing the normally homely things, and then in the evening, obviously, when it comes to investigating, we tend to like sort of send them off. So obviously the last thing we want to do is like scare the children as well.
Yeah, and we are going to touch more on that here when we come back. You folks, stay tuned. You're still talking about, keep going on with that debate in chat. There's a lot of great comments, a lot of great points. More Haunted Voices Radio when we come back. Let'sTalkRadio.net. Get into that chat room. Get your opinion in there. Should you charge or should you not charge? All of that. More Haunted Voices on the way. Stay tuned.
In a world of many voices, there's just one that needs to be heard. Yours. Join the conversation at letstalkradio.net. Shopping, dining, beautiful lakes and rivers, and a monster? Welcome to Braxton County, West Virginia. Centrally located, Braxton County, West Virginia is the ideal place to visit. Natural beauty and recreation abound with 2 beautiful lakes for easy kayaking and canoeing, and many hiking trails. Did we mention the Flatwoods Monster? That's right. Visit Braxton County, West Virginia's Flatwoods Monster Museum and not only learn about the Flatwoods Monster, but walk in the same footsteps as the people who witnessed it. Nearly all of our attractions can be found within a few miles of Interstate 79. Visit us online at braxtonwv.org. That's braxtonwv.org. Braxton County, West Virginia. Center yourself here. Nothing feels better than a good cleanse to wash away the day. If you think that refreshes you, then experience the ultimate cleanse with Soaps by Susan. Cleansing Spiritually LLC uses only pharmaceutical-grade essential oils, all-natural shea butter, coconut oils, and vitamin E, and tailored toward the ultimate cleanse. Susan uses a skin-safe fragrance with an aroma that brings a smile to your face and takes you to that happy place within. Each bar is handcrafted and custom to order, so it not only cleanses the soul, but also matches your room's decor. Cleansing Spiritually soap makes great gifts, or you can just indulge yourself for a spiritual cleansing you'll never forget. You want some now, don't you? We thought so. Contact Susan Todd to place your custom order at facebook.com/spiritually. Don't settle for clean. Get spiritually clean at facebook.com/spiritually.
Your Monday nights just got better. Tune in to paratalkradio.com. We are your paranormal talk. On the air, on the web, and in the field. We have guests from all over the paranormal world. We discuss ghosts, hauntings, Bigfoot, UFOs, and more. Check us out on Facebook Live on Monday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern at facebook.com/paratalkradio. Remember, wherever there is darkness, there is always the light. paratalkradio.com.
While the other stations are run from high-rises in the city, we're programmed from a little bungalow on Windtree Drive. Let'sTalkRadio.net. "23 minutes past the hour. You're listening to Haunted Voices Radio Live. I'm your host, Todd Bates. Those of you just joining us, welcome, welcome, welcome. It is an amazing show. But we've talked everything ghostly this evening. A lot of great discussion going on in the chat room. So get over there, letstalkradio.net. Just log in through the social medias there as a guest, however you like. And join that debate. The debate going on in there is, should you charge for an investigation or should you not? Great points being put in there. Of course, we're talking with Craig and Matt, Cambridge Ghost Hunters over in the UK, and we're getting into some of their investigations. We discussed some equipment, of course, how they came across each other's paths, and now we can blame Craig for Matt's obsession with the paranormal. There's so many things because you can get really, really enthralled in this field, and it's hard to separate sometimes. I had to step away. My thing was electronic voice phenomenon. I was completely obsessed with it. That's all I did.
That's an interesting subject, actually. EVP stuff, definitely.
There's so many parts to the field, guys, that a good investigator needs to specialize in one. And a good team like yours has that perfect balance to where you have, the audio person, you have the photographer, you've got the cinematographer, you've got all these people that have their own specialties, and they put all that together, and that's how you collaborate evidence. That's how it works out. So
definitely,
and you guys do a phenomenal job over there. I mean, we found you and had to get you on here because there's so much you've done over there, so much research. And what I want to get into, of course, for some of the investigations and some of your scariest instances, over there in the United Kingdom, it's old, okay? It's just old. You guys are older than we are, so there's a lot of history over there. So a lot of things. Now, how many people are on your team again?
We just took on 6 new people as well, so
it's over 20 now.
Yeah, it's 23, I think. 23, 24.
Yeah.
So it's quite a big team.
Good for you. Good for you.
Yeah.
That's good. And I'm going to start with you, Craig. Have you personally had any personal experiences with ghosts that you want to share?
Yeah, I've had quite a few personal experiences. Like the main one that sticks out in my head is obviously when I was with a guy called Adrian Atkins. He's like a medium. He's an amazing medium. and he'll come down, and he lives in Wales, but he'll come down and join us on investigations. And he joined us at an investigation at a museum, and obviously he can see figures and stuff. And it was me, Jamie, and Adrian down the bottom of this walkway, and we was looking up, and Adrian was saying how there's a man stand up there, and he's looking. He was describing him, saying that he's looking at us. The rest of the team was actually on that platform as well, more to the right, so they didn't know what was going on, what we was doing. And me and Jamie were sort of looking at each other, thinking, oh, well, we can't see nothing up there. And then the next minute, Adrian said, well, come forwards. And next minute, you just see this dark figure of a man just come forwards. So when you think, am I actually seeing that? And I looked at Jamie, and he was like, can you see that? And we was both like, yeah. And then Adrian said, go and move. And then all of a sudden, it shot across the right-hand side where the rest of the team was. And one of the old members at the time, Mike, he sees the same figure come towards him and go round. So he went running after it. But obviously, they didn't even know what we were seeing either. So it's sort of the way it was like we experienced it, then they experienced it, even though they didn't know what we was seeing.
Holy
so it was pretty crazy.
That was a really good venue.
That was a good venue, yeah.
Yeah, we're having stones thrown at us there and all sorts of things. Yeah,
that is crazy.
Yeah,
that is wicked. Shadow people, shadow beings. Those they're definitely eerie. The Guardians. Before we get to you, Matt, there's the old Native American burial grounds. They have these shadow guardians. They're 7-8 feet high, these things, and they're kind of hunched over. Very eerie. I can't even imagine running into one of those, let alone, how are you going to get away from it? But there's a time, there's just a line you don't cross. I'm not going to sit there.
I think that's kind of like the ancient Egyptians. They used elemental spirits apparently as guardians of a lot of the tombs and stuff like that. So it's not really that surprising that Native Americans probably had very similar things, sort of spirits of nature, I'm guessing.
Right. Oh yeah, elementals. Yeah, that's something. My better half, she's an intuitive. She's not a psychic medium. She's an intuitive. And she's definitely into all the elementals, the fairies. I don't follow the fairy thing. That's probably why they trip me all the time. I don't know, but she does a lot of that, and she is always in sync with things like that, the elementals. And it's simple things, because she wouldn't like you guys would go into a home and research it, investigate it, bring the equipment, and you want to see the apparition or sense it or hear its voice. She's different. She would want to go in there. That's not her thing. That would frighten her. So what she would do is, look, they're haunting this place because this isn't here. They don't have any water in this area, or this is out of place. So she kind of explains it that way and clears the houses. So there's so many different ways to do this kind of research. That's what I love about it. This field is never ending. It doesn't matter what you believe in or what you don't believe in. We're all going to find out eventually if there is or not. We're just not in a hurry to get there. But with that being said, what about you, Matt? Personal experiences. Have you had a personal experience? Share your story here.
Yeah, definitely. I think one of the ones that sort of sticks in my mind. We're at a venue in Wales. It was a pub. I'd gone downstairs. I do quite a lot of the technical work, and like a camera in the bar area had gone out, and this was about 3:00 in the morning. So I'd gone down on my own to go and fix this camera, and was literally obviously doing the technical stuff. Went to turn around to come back up, and there was a guy sitting in one of the stalls in the bar. Wearing a blue shirt, and I turned around and looked at him. I was about to yell at the guy because I thought it was a person from our team playing a prank on me because it was so late at night. And just someone to yell, he disappeared. And I stood there thinking, wow, that's really... And then I suddenly thought, oh my God, I haven't got a camera. And all the sort of the investigation side clicked in, but it was obviously way too late and I'd missed the opportunity. But yeah, that was certainly one that surprised me. It's very rare that you actually see a full body, let alone possibly one in colour. And the guy was as real as anyone, but yeah, it shocked me quite.
Yikes. There's some run-ins, and they're all personal experiences, and there was, you have a lot of skeptics out there. Well, now let's be politically correct. I don't know if it's that way over there. Here in the States, everything is politically correct now. They're not skeptics; they are critical thinkers.
Okay, I think most people in our team would go about it from a perspective suggesting we're very open-minded skeptics rather than being closed-minded. I mean, you will get, when I say closed-minded, you'll get somebody you can literally put something right in front of them, and they'll still say, no, it's not there. It's not what you're saying it is, and you'll get an argument over it. It's just silly. There's no sort of open-minded approach and scope for growth or even accepting something that's outside of their sort of...
Why do you think that is? Do you think that that's some kind of denial? Some kind of...
I think a lot of people, they don't want to believe it. And especially for a lot of guys as well. I think it makes you feel a little bit less manly if they believe in ghosts and stuff like that, A
little weaker.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I was a skeptic, critical thinker. Excuse me. I was a critical thinker for quite a while. But then you have a personal experience.
Yeah.
You can't change after that. It changes you. So I agree. It's a pride. It's everybody wants to be the alpha male. I don't know, but you have they're out there. Anybody?
I've spoken to people before as well and said, like, I've asked if they're believers and stuff, and they're literally like adamant, like they don't believe. And then you say to them, "Have you had an experience before?" And they say, "Oh yeah, I've experienced this before." So it's like, well, so you're saying you completely don't believe, but you've had experiences?
Yeah, that's what I mean by the closed-minded skeptic. Where, even if they experience something, they're still sort of say, "Oh no, it wasn't."
So you guys can get away with it. I just say critical thinker.
Okay, well, same difference, but yeah.
It's like I can't call them midgets anymore either. I have to call them little people.
Don't go into the midget thing.
I'm terrified of them, just so you know. I have a huge phobia with them.
I think they're great.
We just leave it at that.
Now, I think they're great, he says. That's going to be a whole other show at a whole later hour. Now, with this, some of the investigations, tell us about some of the places you've been and the most memorable ones you've investigated over there.
We investigate like a lot of like various types of buildings. So we've done like museums, forts, castles, a lot of private homes, stately homes, all sorts of things.
24 East Drive.
30 East Drive.
Oh, sorry, 30 East Drive.
Yeah, which is like based. It was actually based on a film as well. They made a film about a house.
Yeah, that's
supposedly at the most like poltergeist activity house in the UK. But we investigated it and it was pretty much dead. By like 11 o'clock, we were just sitting there chatting away, laughing.
Imagine, I ended up going upstairs and going to sleep in one of the beds.
Yeah.
So this is like meant to be the most haunted place, like where you get thrown out of bed and all sorts.
Pulled up the stairs and all sorts. Yeah.
Nah, nothing like that, sadly. But yeah. Yeah, what was it called? Tutbury Castle. That was a nice venue.
So what's it like to investigate a castle? This is something that, here we investigate colonial-style homes.
What's lovely about doing what we do is we have to get access to areas that members of the public normally wouldn't get access to during the day.
Mm-hmm.
And... But by that I mean there might be sort of tunnels that they don't let people go down for whatever reasons, but that allow us to go and explore them, to set equipment up in them, and we literally get like free run of the place. So yeah, it's great from that point of view. I mean the problem is that some of the places are absolutely enormous. I mean we went it was like a mansion recently, and the place was absolutely huge. I mean, there was no feasible way we could have covered it with CCTV or anything. It was gigantic. There was so many rooms. It was ridiculous.
Do you feel that you have a castle? It's built out of stone, granite, what have you. Do you think that the castle would be an ideal haunted location because of that? It's absorbed in the
not necessarily. Actually, it doesn't seem to be that way.
Okay.
You'd think it would be, and you think that perhaps it should be, but in terms of what we can actually capture with equipment, it doesn't always seem to sort of follow suit. I mean, It's not suggesting that it's not haunted. I'm just suggesting that some places are even harder to get things to register. I don't know why, but I mean, you go to some places in UK, 2 meters are going off constantly, and we're picking up on all sorts of stuff. And other places, I mean, you feel it personally. It's a very personal experience. I mean, the whole team sort of can feel sick, and venues will get massive headaches, but the equipment's registering absolutely nothing at all. So it's I guess that's one of the exciting things about the paranormal, is that it's just that field where there really is no logical explanation, I guess, for what's going on. I mean, it'd be nice if there was, but there just isn't.
Well, I'm glad you narrowed that down, because there's a lot of places here where you have a lot of residual activity, a lot of limestone and things of that nature. There, it's the age of the country itself. I mean, a lot of these hauntings must be tied to the land somehow, because there's been so much war, tyranny, you name it, and on both sides. But you guys have issues over there, just like we have here, and these would spark hauntings. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, definitely. And they also say as well, water's quite a good source as well, which brings in a lot of energy as well. So you always quite often find that when there's we investigate buildings quite close to water sources, then you end up getting a lot more activity.
For some bizarre reason, yeah, it's true. I mean, we find sometimes. I mean, obviously, you're right about the history of the land. I mean, some venues you go to, it's a modern building, but obviously the problem stems back to something that was there way before. I mean, we're at a private house recently, and the land it was on dates back to sort of Saxon and Roman times, which is, was that 1,000 years?
Yeah.
A couple of thousand years of occupation in the area.
Oh, I'm jealous.
It certainly broadens the scope for possibility. Let's put it that way.
And the house as well. It was 10 years old or something.
Yeah, precisely. But the problems I have, I think, were much more.
And it would be harder to investigate something like that as well, because it is definitely so old. It goes so far back. It would be hard to investigate it. I mean,
and with the equipment as well. Like if it was like Saxon people, for instance, they're not going to want to come along and play with this modern, up-to-date equipment. They're not going to have a clue what it is or what to do.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I mean, one other thing that's very apparent. I mean, the venue itself, has got a certain energy about it, a certain feel. Mm-hmm. But as soon as we go into it as a team, you change the energy in the area. You can't help it. I mean, you bring your own energy and you add to it. You either exasperate it or deplete it. It dramatically changes. And this is the thing that we find about private houses, about being able to leave your equipment there for time and just leave it and let it go back to the state that it was in before we arrived. And that seems to be really important.
Oh, I got a question here for you. Speaking of all this, do you guys believe that it can help by calling out spirits on an investigation?
Do you mean calling out sort of names to particular individuals?
Well, kind of like borderline provoking.
Right.
We do call out a lot. Quite often we have like Emma Reed on the team. She's the historian for the team. Mm-hmm. So she quite often will look into the history and try and find names and supposed hauntings and activity and stuff. But usually the team don't generally want to know until after an investigation, to sort of see if it sort of collaborates, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does.
But obviously we will call out. We'll try and get like names, answers, ages, get as much as we can. But obviously sometimes you just it doesn't actually make sense. Some of the answers you get, or some of the names is completely different to what's actually in history. Okay. But who knows, that they might have been there at one point. They might not have been. The fact that they died there, or it could just be residual. It could be anything, really.
Yeah. I mean, in terms of actually sort of provoking a response, I mean, we certainly won't do that in a private house for the very good reason that obviously, I mean, if we cause more problems than there were already there, I mean, we get to go home. The guys that live there don't.
Right. Yeah, it's not like you're going around, slapping around the homeowner or anything. Yeah, I get it. Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
I think it's very, very tactical. Provoking would be probably the way to put it. Yeah,
you put that very well. Yeah, very well. Not like what you see on television where they're using threats and cutting. There was one episode they were cutting.
No,
and letting the blood on them.
I'm not so sure that that's such a good idea to do things like that. Anyway, I mean, we've certainly had at some venues where probably what we were doing went too far in that respect. And I mean, I myself ended up having to leave the room. I was violently ill. We had a guy pass out, and the environment can have a massive effect on team members, and it's certainly not such a good idea to sometimes, welcome it and invite it, because it can get quite out of hand quite quickly.
Absolutely, and it can escalate. It's an unseen force. It's something that we don't know what kind of power or energy it has.
No, we don't know who or what you're dealing with.
I mean, like when the environment sort of closes in around the team. I mean, it's incredible how quickly it can suddenly change from being like you're in a normal room, and suddenly it feels incredibly oppressive and very aggressive, I guess would be a good word to put to it. I mean, we have so many people sort of end up having to just stand up and say, I can't be here anymore, and having to leave the room and stuff.
And I want to know your opinion in chat on provoking. Do you think that, and Matt put it great, tactical provocation. What do you guys think of that? Do you think that it can help a situation if you have a spirit that's just laying there dormant and it's just tormenting this homeowner and it's not leaving its spot? Do you think calling it out is a good thing to help cleanse and perhaps stop the haunting? Let us know in chat. Let's talk radio.net. Real simple to get in there, folks. Just go ahead and log in. What do you think about provoking? It's another controversial topic because it's a dual-edged sword. If you think about it, just by speaking with them, you're kind of doing, you're provoking them.
Yeah.
Just by asking them a question, you're provoking them. So what is? I mean, I'm not talking about, hey, come out here, or I'm going to send you to the void kind of threat, but provoking is provoking. So what are your opinions there in chat? And what I want to know from you guys here, we're going to skip off to a break, but when we come back, what I want to know is what it takes for a place to be haunted, for you to claim a place to be haunted. I want to know what you guys have to what kind of evidence you have to have before you can deem that a haunted location. So more of that coming up, folks. We're going to talk about that when we come back. More with Craig and Matt, Cambridge Ghost Hunters over in the UK. Stay tuned. We'll be back in just a few moments. Haunted Voices Radio Live. Let's talk radio.net.
1,000 pigeons sitting on our tower can't be wrong.
And hundreds of people stopping by our station with Hawaiian shirts sort of notice us.
Don't fly away. Stay right here at Let's Talk Radio for the best talk, news, and entertainment.
No birds were actually harmed in this announcement, although we have had a few thoughts.
WGOG DB Clearwater. Let's talk.
Since 1948, Fate magazine has delivered a one-of-a-kind reading experience covering everything from psychics, UFOs, paranormal investigations, and more. To subscribe, visit fatemag.com or call 828-702-3032. That's 828-702-3032. Subscribe and find your true reports of the strange and unknown at fatemag.com.
Haunted, a psychic story by author and radio host Ariel Grace. This is not your average book of hauntings. Haunted, a psychic story is written from a psychic perspective and contains true stories and some handy tips. Written in 3 parts, Haunted, a Psychic Story contains chilling adventures, advice from the archangels, and helpful tips used by Ariel Grace to clear haunted homes around the globe. Haunted, a Psychic Story is available on Amazon, or you can download straight to your Kindle. Haunted, a Psychic Story by Ariel Grace. Get your copy today. Marcella Zinner, Named one of the best intuitive psychics of Tampa Bay, Marcella is ready to change your life. Being a clairvoyant since childhood, Marcella enhanced her natural gifts with a master's degree from the College of Metaphysical Studies and ongoing advanced studies at the Edgar Cayce Foundation. Marcella's passion is to share her gifts with you, with intuitive counseling, past life regressions, Reiki, and empowering workshop events. What are you waiting for? Call 727-785-8780. That's 727-785-8780 to schedule your life-changing appointment with Marcella. Marcella Zinner, intuitive counselor and clairvoyant. Find your answers at marcellaz.com. If you call other talk stations, all you get is,
"Hello, we're sorry, but no one is available to answer your call at this time."
But at Let's Talk Radio, we're here for the best talk, news, and information 24 hours a day. Hear it here first or find out about the alien invasion tomorrow from someone else. Depend on us. Let'sTalkRadio.net.
48 minutes past the hour. Those of you just tuning in, boy, did you miss a phenomenal show. We still have just a few minutes left. Don't worry, the archive's going to be up after this live broadcast, about 30 minutes after. You can find that at letstalkradio.net, where you can also find the chat room. You can log in through Facebook, Twitter as a guest. Doesn't matter, get your derrieres in there. Get your final questions posted. Put those in all capital letters. We'll get those to our guests here. We're talking with Craig and Matt of the Cambridge Ghost Hunters over there in the United Kingdom. A lot of great discussion tonight. And I do want to remind you, now next week we're going to be talking with Kitty Janus, author of When the Dead Speak, and the Sally House's own Deborah Pickman. Now, I've got a personal relationship with Deborah and Tony Pickman of the Sally House in Atchison, Kansas, and they haven't been on Haunted Voices in quite a while. So we're going to be catching up all of that, 9 Eastern, 8 Central, right here, letstalkradio.net, next week on Haunted Voices Radio. Now, getting back to some ghostly stuff here, guys. Wow. Definitely had a great time speaking with you, and we do have some time left in the show, so don't worry. We're not leaving anytime soon. Now, what I wanted to get into is, what does it take for you to deem a place as haunted? What kind of evidence do you need? What kind of information do you need before you, your team, claim it to be haunted?
It's quite difficult because obviously when you have like personal experiences, which quite often you do have a lot of personal experiences when you investigate, but obviously because it's personal, you can't really use that as evidence as such. You can obviously share your experiences, but there's no proof of that, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So that's why like we do like video footage and stuff. EVP, like obviously voices, that's one of the best evidence we think that you can get, because you can't explain another voice in a room that you're in with no one else there, especially like if they sort of answer to your questions. And we've had it before where we've had the spirit box going, we've been doing glasswork at the same time, and it's actually been like spelling out exactly the same as what it's been saying through the spirit box and stuff, which was that was just crazy, because that's the only time it's ever happened. But things like that is
I mean using stuff like the spirit box is an interesting phenomenon in itself. I mean, I guess it's kind of like EVP, but what we notice is that obviously an awful lot of the names and stuff that come through appear to have absolutely nothing to do with the property at all. But the device itself, when you get very intelligent answers, I mean often, the amount of times we've been like directly insulted by it. I mean, quite explicitly. Yeah, sort of, and like an expletive followed by a team member's name, sort of thing. It's very, very directed. But in terms of actual a property and saying it's haunted, that's a real hard one, because as Craig said, so many of the experiences are very, very personal. And I mean, capturing paranormal activity on cameras or anything is a really hard task. I mean, it's probably the most elusive of phenomenons which is probably why it's so interesting, really.
Yeah. You know what, guys? I mean, my personal opinion, I hope they never figure it out because it's job security, for one thing.
There's always that. But
it's one of those things where we're not supposed to know, and I think that's why so many people are curious about it, is it's because it's something we're not supposed to know. I mean, sure, there could be complete blackness whenever our day is here. There could be some kind of heavenly light. There could be some fire and brimstone. We don't know. And it's not like we can go to, a past loved one and shake them around and say, wake them up and say, okay, what did you see? What did you see? We can't do that. And, certain mediums and things, they can communicate with them, but that's hard because that is not something physical that we as human beings can grasp and hold on to. It's not, it's an energy. And which is what we all consist of. So that's what I love about this field, and that's why I like talking about it, is because you're always constantly learning. You're never going to learn everything. There's far too much. There's things that haven't even been discovered yet, for crying out loud. Yeah,
definitely.
So there's a lot going on, and you guys are on the right path. Kudos to you and your protocol, the way you're out there investigating, the way you help the homeowner. The client, it's very important. Very important what you do, and I definitely give you credit for that. We have just a couple minutes here, so I want to turn the mic over to you. Get out information. Get out about the documentary. Get out about all the good stuff, the website, everything. The mic's yours. Have at it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So we've got a Facebook page under the Cambridge Ghost Hunters. Our website's www.thecambridgeghosthunters.co.uk. We're on Instagram and YouTube, both under the Cambridge Ghost Hunters as well. You can contact us through our email address, which is cambridgeghosthunters@hotmail.com. Just thank you for everyone for listening, and thank you for having us on the show. It's been amazing.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you very much. Thank you. It's been great.
Oh, the pleasure is ours, and you two are definitely going to be back. Definitely going to be back because there's a lot more things for us to discuss, and I want to get your take on other things as well. So
it's a huge subject, mate. Huge subject.
Massive. I mean, we need to play some of your evidence. We didn't even scratch the surface on that. We've got to play some of your EVP captures, share some of your photographs in chat, all of these things. So you're definitely coming back in my book, so don't worry about that. We're going to be in touch real soon. And you two have an amazing week, and thanks for taking time to come on tonight.
Thank you for having us. Thank you.
You bet. Take care.
You too. Bye-bye.
And there they were, all the way from across the pond. Craig and Matt, the Cambridge Ghost Hunters. Amazing. And we've got an awesome lineup of shows coming up for you. Now, tomorrow night, you've got Paranormal Experience with host Kat Hobson. That's going to be at 8 Eastern, 7 Central. Friday, you're going to be having Ghost Talk with 187 PI, host Shelley Burke Robertson. And I think Rob Trammell's co-hosting with her. Yes, I believe so. If I have that right, my head's a little full. And, of course, following that, it's going to be Fate Radio, 9 Eastern, 8 Central, and a Gang of Girls Radio, 8 Eastern, 7 Central, Sunday night with host Ariel Grace. And right now, I've had a lot of questions about the Surviving Evidence radio program. It's currently on a hiatus. It's okay. Everything's fine. We're playing replays. So you're going to hear some replays, of course, from that show and John Tobin's show until he comes back live. He's going to come back live here, I think, the week after next. He's going to come back for his next live program. But his next replay is going to be of Grant Wilson, when he interviewed Grant Wilson. That's coming up next Tuesday night at 8 Eastern, right here before Haunted Voices Radio. So from all of us here at letstalkradio.net, you guys have an amazing week. Let us know what you think about the programs. Contact at letstalkradio.net. Better yet, go to the website and click Contact Us. Have a good night, folks.